Hello, I'm Charles. I'm called Charles C Jeya in India. I'm a minister of God. I served as a Seventh-day Adventist Church pastor in India, and currently I'm living in Australia. I'd like to tell a story or a witness about how God was wonderful in protecting me during my ministry in India. Some few years ago, I was asked to assist in one of the evangelistic series in a village where there has been no Adventist mission preached. So the conference president, a few other ministers, we went to work in this village, and we stayed there for about a month, and we did a lot of groundwork, visiting people and distributing flyers. And at the end of all the groundwork, we would usually have an evangelistic series preaching for about 15 days, 10 days sometimes 15 days. So as we were doing this evangelism in that particular village, most of the villages are non-Christians. They were not Adventists. Most of them were they were not Christians. So as we worked there in this village for about at least a month, and as we were nearing to have this evangelistic preaching, in India, if we have the evangelistic preaching, people from all over the neighboring villages would come gather together, and we expected at least 500 to 600 people gathering for an evangelistic preaching. One of our pastor usually preaches, so that's how the meeting goes on. The story goes on this way. Then just a couple of days before the evangelistic preaching series could start, on one particular day, I was in the house that we were staying, and unfortunately on that particular day, the ministers, those who assisted in that meeting, they left to their own homes because they had to take off, and I was the only one in that house. And I heard somebody knocking at the door. When I opened the door, I saw policemen standing at the door, and they arrested me and asked them why. They said, "You're not supposed to preach in this village. You're not supposed to evangelize in this village." And I asked them why. What is it? Who filed the case? And they said the non-Christians who are not interested in Christian preaching have filed a case against the Seventh-day Adventist Church ministers, and particularly those who are in this village. And we came to arrest all of you. And unfortunately, the rest of all the ministers were not there, and I was the only one there. So they arrested me, and I was praying. I was asking God for His guidance, because it's the first time in my life I'm experiencing something like that. And I was a very young minister at that time, just growing, budding minister, and I didn't face the world much. So I was quite scared about what's going on. I have never faced policemen. And I was praying to the Lord, God help me, and please be with me in this situation, because I was not allowed to even call the ministers or the officers of the conference or the senior pastors. However, I was arrested and taken to one of the local government authority officer. He's called the local Tahsildar, somebody who is in charge of few villages. So when I was taken to this officer, I was standing there, and I looked at the officer, and the officer looked at me for some time and said, "Are you Charles?" He said. I just wondered, how does this man know my name? And he told me, "Charles, please come inside." And I went there, and he told me, "Do you know Charles? I'm your uncle." I said, "What? My uncle?" And I just wondered what's going on. So what is he going to do to me? And all the not-Christian, those who filed this case, they're a very big group of people, all giants. They looked very big and giant. They mocked at me. I'm a little boy standing in front of all the policemen, the villagers, and the officers. I didn't know what to do at all. But I prayed. That's all I did. And the officer looked at me and said, "You are Charles. Please come." And I went and talked to him. "Sir, how do you know my name?" He said, "Charles, don't you remember me? I'm your uncle." Is it? And he said, "I know you from childhood." And I forgot him, because due to my studies, I was not in my village. I was away from my village. And I didn't know that he's my uncle. He said, I'm your uncle. So he asked me, what's the problem? He said, we wanted to preach here, we were evangelizing, and these people filed a case against me, and they arrested me. I don't know what to do now. And they said, you don't worry, I will take care of you. And I prayed to the Lord and said, okay, God has somebody here to protect me. And of course I was scared, because looking at all the gigantic people around me and the way they talked at me and they mocked at me. And now somebody's coming and telling you, don't worry, I will take care of you, I'm your uncle. And I was so surprised and said, thank you, Lord, for helping me through this officer. I'm currently putting a right person at the right place to attend to us. And I thanked God. And I talked to him about all the details, and I said, I'm the only one alone here, and the rest of the other ministers are not here. So these are the programs that we're going to run here, and at the end of the day, we're going to preach, and things are going wrong. And he said, you don't worry, I will take care of all these things. And he asked the policemen to give permission, because Christians have rights in this country to preach as well. Because, they were all non-Christians, and they mocked at me. And fortunately, my uncle was the officer there, where I was taken to attend to the officer. And with his support, and I was able to be delivered from the policeman. He requested the policeman that they should not arrest me and put me in jail. But the story did not end there. The non-Christians in the village, they still went further to another officer, to the higher authority, other than my uncle. So I didn't know what to do, and I was quite confused, because they still somehow wants to stop the evangelism there, and they don't want Christianity to be preached, especially our Adventist message. So they went to the higher authority of the police department, called the superintendent of police for the whole district. So the same day, they went and filed another case, both on me and my uncle, saying that uncle is doing a favor for me. He's supporting the Christians. But meanwhile, some of the other Christian churches, other than the Adventist churches, they came to know that the Christian church is in trouble. So they came and they all joined together and started to form a kind of group and said, this is India. India is a democratic country, so anybody can preach. We have the freedom of religion. And they started to block the road and started to protest. Imagine, I'm the only one person. Nobody else was there. The news did not reach the conference, or neither the pastors. But I requested the policeman that I wanted to talk to some of my officers, then I will decide. One of the policemen in that group, he called me separately and he asked me to sign a paper. I said, why should I sign? He told me, sign in this paper. And it was a blank page. Nothing was written. And he told me, sign in this paper. I said, I will not sign until my office gives any permission. The point that the policeman was trying to make is somehow he wants to resolve the issues, and he don't want to continue the problem. If I would have signed in that paper, that means they could write anything in the paper saying that I have agreed that we are keeping away from the evangelism, that we have decided that we'll go away from the village, and they will close the case, and we cannot go further to preach anymore. But I was quite threatened by the policeman saying, sign. I said, no, I will not sign until and unless I get permission from my office. Because I did not sign, they were very fierce and angry on me. They did not allow me to come out of the police station. But by then, the Christians of this village, now, it's a Christian association, not just Adventists, but all the other denominations. Few elders and pastors and church members from all the other denominations, they all gathered in the police station. They fought against the policemen, saying, we all are Christians, we have freedom of religion, we can preach in this village. As long as other religions have freedom and rights, we do have the right in this village. Of course, in the entire nation. But the police were not supporting me, and they took me alone to a separate room and threatened me. I said, no, I'm not going to sign. But by then after some time I went and told the Christians that they're threatening me. And they supported me, saying, this pastor will never sign. And things were okay for me. I got support from the Christians. But later, this case was taken to the superintendent of police, and the SP, the superintendent of police, called all the Christians and people who filed the case to meet with him. And the same night, around 12 in the night, I was taken to this SP, that is the Superintendent of Police, and he was in his office waiting for us. So by then I made a few calls to the office and to senior pastors who worked with me. And few pastors were able to come and attend. So few pastors and the Christians from the village, and of course the non-Christians, they came together. We went in a separate van and they came in a separate van. There was a kind of unfair situation because if something goes wrong, the entire non-Christian group will join together and there will be fights and things will be very bad. So which should not happen, because the village should not think just because we have come all these problems are happening. So I was praying, Lord, nothing should happen, everything should go well. So in the midnight when we met the Superintendent of Police, the moment we entered the room, he asked straight at me and few other pastors. He told me, which church do you minister? Which church are you ministering? And we said we minister in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And what is so fascinating? The Superintendent of Police told, oh, dear pastors, do you know that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist student? I'm so grateful. Today I'm the Superintendent of Police because of the Seventh-day Adventist school that I studied. He did his high school in our Adventist institution. And we were so thrilled. In the very first phase, when I was arrested and taken to an officer, where they asked me to stop the meeting and asked me to sign the paper, and I said, no, I will not do. Thankfully, God has put the right person, who was my uncle. And though the non-Christians did not listen to the officer, they filed a case against both of us, me and my uncle and the pastors, to a higher authority. When we met the higher authority, God put the right person, a Seventh-day Adventist student there. And he sang few songs. The Superintendent of Police sang few songs. He sang, I am happy today. I am happy today. I learned the song in Adventist institution. And I am what I am today because of the Adventist school. And he said, don't worry, dear pastors. I will be ever thankful to the Lord. And see, the good news is, the Superintendent of Police is not a Christian. He was not a Christian. But God spoke in his heart. He said, I'm going to give you permission to lead this meeting. And for the next 15 days that you run this meeting in this village, I will give you complete police protection. And he sent more than 10 policemen with gun to protect us, both in our house as well as in the spot where we were conducting the evangelistic preaching. And the Superintendent of Police visited us a couple of times. And he saw that everything goes well with us. And whatever case was filed against me, the officers, the pastors, or anything against the Christian leaders over there, the Superintendent of Police has all the authority to take away all the case. So he said he's not going to carry this case anymore. So he closed the file and said, these are the ministers of God, and I'm going to do what I have to do for them. And it is such a wonderful experience to me, and I really saw the hand of God leading me in a time where I thought I could do nothing. I was left alone in a village. Imagine, just not one village. We ministered to more than 10-15 villages, but particularly in that village is where we meet to preach, where all the people from all over the town and cities and villages would come gather there for listening to the preaching. That's where we stayed. And God put the right people at the right time, in the right place. And God led throughout this meeting so wonderfully. Praise God, in that particular place today, we have a Seventh-day Adventist Church. Yes, God is so wonderful. And I have seen God in this experience. I'm sure that God is going to lead everyone in times of trouble. May God bless you. Amen.